So we'll be comparing two very budget fitness trackers from the Xiaomi brand, the Mi Band 10, as well as Amazfit Bip 6. Now, these two trackers, well, the Amazfit Bip 6 is more like a hybrid. This is a full-on tracker. But hey, on paper, 1.72 inches, on paper, 1.97 inches of AMOLED displays. So technically, they should be quite similar and comparable. Well, that's what you'd think. But let's put these two trackers to the test. Let's compare them. Let's talk about the differences, the similarities, and where did one or the other brand went astray. So the links to the listings of both of these trackers will be in the description below the video. Do check them out if you're after some sharp prices. And now let's dive in and talk about the details. Let's do it. Let's start with the two displays because this is where these two trackers split immediately. The Amazfit Bip 6 is a 1.97-inch AMOLED panel. The Xiaomi Smart Band 10 is 1.72-inch. On paper, that looks like a small bump, but it's so misleading because the Band 10 is very slim, tall display. We need to remember that the diameter is calculated diagonally. So considering we get this very tiny screen, let's actually do a bit of maths to figure out the surface area of the two displays. And what they're showing us is that with the Bip 6, bezel to bezel, we get about 1,861 square millimeters of face area. On the Band 10, it's 1,050. So really, almost half. And yet, if we just go off the diameter, which is 1.97 versus 1.72, it looks like it's literally just, 10% off. But we can see the gimmick here, right? You get so much less of usable space where you can see the data, where you can read off data. And let's not forget that having the circular edges on the Mi Band 10, you can't actually see data there. It's wasted space. While the rectangular, it might not be as fluid, but you actually have usable space which you can use for data, for readings, etc, etc. Brightness is another clear win on the Amazfit Bip 6, on which we get 2000 nits of brightness, while we only get 1500 nits on the Mi Band 10. Both have ambient light sensors for auto brightness, so that's good. The bottom line is, if you want bigger, brighter canvas for maps, messages, and metrics, the Bip 6 shape gives you a lot more usable space than the Band 10, even though the diagonals look close on a spec sheet. Now I want to focus on sports. So the Bip 6 feels built for actual training. You get 140 plus sport modes plus smart strength training that auto-detects reps and specific movements in the gym. We also get Zepp Coach, which adapts plans to your recovery and goals. Crucially, it has built-in multi-GNSS GPS, so you can run phone-free and still get pace, distance, and route. There are even free downloadable maps with turn-by-turn on the watch. Afterward, syncing is easy. Strava, Adidas Running, Training Peaks, Komoot, Relief, Google Fit, Apple Health, whatever, it all plugs in through the Zepp app. While the Mi Band 10 does seem to have more sport modes, 150 plus, okay. We get 10 on-risk guided running courses only, plus nice little extras like heart rate broadcast for cycling computers and upgrade swim tracking. But there is no built-in GPS, meaning that without a phone, you can't do any of this for pace, for distance calculation, etc. What the good thing is that both trackers feature goal-based workouts, so you can set a goal such as time, distance, or calories to be burned during a particular exercise. But again, this is just the usual for fitness trackers. But if we talk about the bottom line about these two trackers, if you want autonomous outdoor tracking and coach-style guidance, pick the Bip 6. If you're mostly gym, pool, or guided runs with your phone, the Band 10 covers the bases. But the bases are just the bases. If you want slightly more, if you want more engagement, you want more information, you need to go with the Bip 6. Sensors are crucial on fitness trackers. After all, it's not just about the fitness, it's about health monitoring. And this is what these trackers do. Let's break this one down. So both of these will cover the basics well. You get 24/7 heart rate, SpO2, stress, and sleep tracking. Both of them actually cover your deep sleep, Light sleep and REM both also cover your naps if you have any, as long as they're over 30 minutes in length. Where they split is what they do with the data they collect. So on the Bip 6, you get a daily readiness score that rolls up your sleep quality, resting heart rate, sleep heart rate variability, and breathing quality. As well as that, it gets overall recovery. That gives you a clear nudge. Push today or dial back. It turns numbers into a simple, actionable green light or red light for training or rest. Now, I find this readiness score something crucial because if I didn't get enough sleep, it tells me that. Once I do get my 8 hours in and the 8 hours of quality sleep, it tells me my mental state, my physical state is ready to take on training. And again, this is the feature that is usually there on advanced Garmin watches, advanced Polar watches, so more expensive sport watches, not budget fitness trackers. On the Amazfit, you also get the PAI, the Personal Activity Index. So this score is driven by a heart rate intensity over 7 days. Aim for 100 PAI per week, and that target comes from long-running research linking 100 plus PAI points with better cardiovascular outcomes. In practice, it nudges you towards sessions that actually raise your heart rate, not just doing the steps. On the Smart Band 10, Xiaomi's moved away from PAI and uses a vitality score now. So it's a 7-day activity number that pretty much does the same thing as PAI, just a different name for it. It's helpful, but it's not the same as Bip 6's readiness system, which is a cohesive system that puts all your data together and gives you one basically score. It gives you insights on what you should be doing the next day once you wake up. Are you ready for the next day ahead, or should you improve on something and maybe dial back the activity? So much more actual MI happening on top of the data. You're going to love what we found on the batteries here. So yeah, the typical usage, we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about real life usage. And also, it's not just about that. It's also about how do the chargers actually work. The Bip 6 carries the biggest cell and claims up to 14 days. Well, that's not quite true. Around 10 days is what you'd usually get. The Mi Band 10 claims 21 days, and in real life I'm seeing closer to 2 weeks. But that makes sense. It's pushing a much smaller display, so it sips less power. That's okay. Still, 10 days versus 14 days, hey, that's good battery performance. But the experience of charging is where these two feel completely different. The Band 10's 2-pin cable is, let's be honest, fiddly and just awful. You line up the little pogo pins, the band sits awkwardly on its side, and a knock can break that connection. It does the job, but it's not a great desk companion. The Bip 6 feels much more mature. You've got a magnetic puck, USB-C cable you drop on the table and just pop the watch on top. It locks in cleanly, sits face up and stays stable, so you can still glance at the time, swipe notifications, even poke around settings while it juices up. It feels like a modern smartwatch workflow rather than a tiny tracker with a temperamental clip. So yes, the Band 10 tends to last longer of a single charge by about 4 days in typical usage, but Bip 6 wins the charging experience hands down. The big elephant in the room is usability. So we talked about health, fitness, even the build in some cases, right? Both are sort of plastic. They've got elements of, alloy, aluminium. That's fine. Doesn't really matter. But we need to talk about the real feature, the usability of these things. And this is a section where the Mi Band 10 doesn't have a chance, no chance. Let's go into the details here. The Bip 6 feels like a real smartwatch, not a fitness tracker. We get Bluetooth calling with an onboard mic and speaker, so you can take calls right off your wrist. There are message replies. On Android, you can reply with a full QWERTY keyboard, speech to text, and even have the assistant help polish or translate the text before sending. This is insane. It's so good. That's proper wrist messaging. On iPhone, you still get notifications and Bluetooth calling, but Apple limits third-party devices from sending typed or voice replies. That's a platform thing, not an Amazfit thing. The assistant piece is strong too. So Zepp Flow gives you full voice control, change settings, start workouts, check your readiness score. So these are like offline commands. And crucially, it can read messages from the AI assistant aloud. So the watch actually talks back. It's more like using a mini voice concierge than memorizing clunky commands. There's also quality of life stuff that matters day to day. So we get the call quick replies, a handy voice memo app on the watch, centralized notifications, and deep app sync through the Zepp app. Net, the Bip 6 lets you handle calls and respond to messages from the wrist in a way that feels grown up and very, very premium, especially on Android. By contrast, the Smart Band 10 keeps it simpler, like way simpler. You'll see call notifications, and on Android you can send quick messages responses, like I'll call you back, after you program them in your app. But there's no Bluetooth calling, no full keyboard speech reply flow. It's fine for basic alerts, but if you want to talk and text from the wrist, the Bip 6 is another league that is just incomparable to this. Now, another point I want to talk about with the differences is the actual straps. So maybe not the case design, but the straps. So I've been wearing these two trackers for 3 nights now, just to compare them. Yep. And on 2 nights out of 3, this strap on the Mi Band 10, and I've been complaining about this before, with this tip catching on linen, it basically gets untangled. It doesn't come off my wrist exactly, but it gets loose, and the sleep monitoring becomes, well, compromised. No such issue with the classic watch type clasp that we get here on the Amazfit. Plus, it gets the dip, and it's just so secure. It's perfect for your sport needs, for your sleep needs. Yeah. Again, Amazfit just did it better by thinking through and just walking away from super budget, because this is just terrible. We've had this design on for how many years now, and they're just not willing to improve it. And now I think the last factor we need to talk about is price, of course, because you'll be telling me, well, hold on, these are two budget, but they're slightly different budget prices, and you'd be right. So with the Mi Band 10, we're looking at about $40, 40, 45 bucks, depending which platform you're going to pick it up from. While this bad boy will set you back anywhere between 70 and 80 bucks. So you're looking at about 50% more. But does it provide 50% more value? And I think in the things we've covered right now, even the screen, the display you're actually looking at is about 80% larger. Yep, you're getting so many more features that are not just better, they're just not existent on the Mi Band 10. So is this Amazfit Bip 6 my recommendation? Definitely. It costs 50% more than Xiaomi Mi Band 10, but it's 10 times better. I should be actually comparing it to something like the Samsung watch, maybe the Apple Watch. That's what it's comparable to. It doesn't have eSIM capability, but in terms of what it can do, it goes up against the premium brands. Not this. Anyways, thank you for watching. Now, I'll be leaving the affiliate links to both of these trackers in the description below the video. Do check them out if you're after some sharp prices. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.